Hello everyone, and glad you are with us. This episode of Disabilities Redefined, we have a theme of autism and the positive aspects of being active. We will meet the author of the article, My Son Has a Rare Form of Autism, Learning to Surf Helped Save Him, which became an internet sensation. So we are very happy to have Professor James Mulvaney on the show. For our first segment, we will meet 3 students from Queens College who established the Horseboy Club, based on the book and documentary of the same name. Wesley Allen, Sara Salem, and Nikolas Schulz were a pleasure having in the studio. And we will get to know each student first before we speak about this great club that they have established. So what can I do but hand over the interview?
I'm taking hard science classes, social science classes, and because I'm really interested in the sciences. I want to major somewhere in the sciences. So, but I'm also really interested in photography and music. I have a lot of interests that I'm like really into. And so that's why Queens College was great, because they have everything.
Yes. Yeah. Well, listen, I think you're in the right place. If you have a lot of interest, I think college is a place to be, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but now you also do a lot of stuff outside of college. You sent us over some photographs. You know, what do you like to do? Is it specifically homeless people or just street? I don't even know what to call it. Is that black and white photography?
I do lots of color too. So I would call it street photography. Okay. I don't think any of the people that I've photographed were homeless. But
well, we have some photographs we're going to show you.
So
show us. Let's one come up now.
So this was in Washington Heights. And so what I like to do with street photography is just like observe people through a camera and a lens. I'm really interested in how people behave and just how people work. And I think doing photography is one way to kind of just capture like genuine human moments. And a lot of times not every time, but a lot of times I will talk to these people if they're unsure, if they feel uncomfortable, if I take a picture or like before I take a picture. A lot of times they notice like the camera in my hand all the time. And so that's what I like to do is capture New York, capture people, because I've also done street photography back in Vermont too. Right. They all have a different feel to them. So
now you also sent us over some photographs that just looked like a very lazy Saturday afternoon, captured in the presence of a 4-legged creature. Who is this? This charming photograph here that really should belong on a postcard or some Hallmark card. Get well soon, or we miss you, or whatever. Who? First of all, who is this?
Oh, this is my dog.
This is your dog. Okay.
His name is Cato.
Cato.
Yeah.
All right. And what was the purpose of this photograph?
Oh, there isn't as much intent and subtext to these. I was snuggling him on my bed here, and I noticed the light was really nice coming from the window, and so I just like told him to stay, like I'll be back in a minute, and I took a picture of him because I thought it was really cute and the lighting was nice. Okay, great. Now, just quickly, you are working, you are interning, is it, or you're working for a photographer? Yes, so I'm technically interning with a photographer now, doing lots of events around the city. That's great. Well, congratulations. Thank you. I have a quote here that you said, and I want to read it, and then I want us to talk about it quickly before we move on to the next guest. But it's you were speaking about your disability, and you stated, "It's part of me, and I wouldn't want my mind to be any other way. I wouldn't be me if I didn't have Asperger's." Exactly. Yeah. So Asperger's, now it isn't diagnosed as Asperger's, now it's autism spectrum disorder. And there were lots of complications throughout my life with this. And especially early on with people adapting to it. But I mean, my family's always been really supportive of me. That was one reason I was taken out of the public school early on and homeschooled was because I couldn't function in school because of the stress the teachers and students were putting on me, the bullying. So with that quote, like I wouldn't want to be anybody else but myself. Like I see my differences as like positives, you know, not a negative thing. I don't really see it as like a disability. I don't really feel disabled, or and I don't feel like I need a cure.
Thank you, Wesley, for that great message. He is such a talented photographer. Now, our second student, Sara Salem, is very smart, very confident, and pretty, and also traditional, holding on to her heritage, as we will now see. Hello, Sara.
Hi, Dr.
How are you?
I'm good.
You're
How are
looking
you?
very pretty, if I do say
Thank
so
you.
myself. Okay, now listen, I love this story. Family from Egypt,
Yes.
but born and raised in the Bronx.
Yes.
But you still very much hold on to a lot of the Egyptian culture and traditions, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
What was it, belly dancing, other things that you all do?
Yes, we're very rich in culture, within history, with food, with dancing, and I love that about my culture. And though we are going through a lot of political times and kinds right now, I still think I think our culture is very rich in the sense of we have a lot of old culture, and I love that. Our history still lives with us till this day, and I think that's beautiful.
Yes, that's great. And now, quickly, but now you like to knit.
Yes.
Is that just something you like to do, or is that part of the Egyptian?
No, it was just something I picked up when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I just had a lot of time on my hands, and I really just was like, I should make myself a hat. And I just went on YouTube and learned how to knit.
Okay, great. What, do you knit a lot of things you wear? Do you?
I knit a lot of scarves and hats, yes.
Okay.
And I made a blanket for myself once and for Nico's younger brother.
Oh. Okay, great. But hey, why not then? Yeah. Okay. Now, what is your major? What is it? Linguistics.
It's I am a communication science disorder major on the speech pathology route.
Okay. Now, what does that mean? Because a lot of people might not really know what that means.
Right. So speech pathologists, what they do is they assess, manage, prevent, and treat children or adults with speech, language, or cognitive communication and or swallowing disabilities or impairments. So that's what speech pathologists do, and I really love that because I love children and I love working with them.
Great.
Yes.
Now, but now in that, just a quick question. You're in your BA right now.
Yes.
Okay. Now, will you have to continue on with a master's and how does one become a speech pathologist?
Right. So someone becomes a speech pathologist by getting their master's degree, and after that, you could always take further education routes, such as completing your C's, which is something by ASHA, which is one of the most famous speech pathology audiology programs that's here in New York, and it's kind of like the elite team of being like, you want to be in that country club of speech pathologists in a way. Yeah, that's like the best way to describe it. That's how my professor described it. And so yes, you complete your C's, which is your clinical competence test, and you become a speech pathologist.
Great. Okay. Now, what I found interesting about you is that all of my guests, I like to do a little bit of homework and reading on. Now, you are the word disability. You were saying that you preferred to use the word challenge.
Yes.
Give us a little background on that, or give us some. What is that all about?
Right. So I believe that everybody goes through challenges throughout
Yes.
their day. Everybody has a disability in some sort of way. I don't believe that we should be defined by our disabilities. I don't believe that. I shouldn't be like, hi, my name is Sara and I suffer with anxiety. That shouldn't be who I am. Every day I go through the challenge of having anxiety, but it does not define who I am. I'm
Right,
able to live, I'm
absolutely.
functioning with this challenge that I have, and I can make it through this challenge.
Wow. Thank you, Sara, and your message is very much appreciated. Now on to Nikolas, or Nico as he is called, and he is actually going to tell us a little background on the Horseboy Club and how he got involved with the author, Rupert Isaacson.
The Committee for Disabled Students decided in 2014, with the help of our faculty advisor and longtime friend, John Andrzejak, who's the Dean of Students at Queens College, to invite Rupert Isaacson, the founder of the Horseboy Foundation and the producer of the same titled documentary called The Horseboy, and the author of the book. And he is the father of Rowan, who is his autistic son, who's now 15 years old. At the age of 4, he went on a trip to Mongolia to look for a cure for the negative aspects of his son's autism. meaning the inability to socialize, the incontinence, and the inability of being able to help himself when he was stimming or tantruming. It was actually quite successful, and I won't give too much away since I have to make you watch or read the book.
Well,
or watch the movie,
I'm
right?
about halfway through. It's been a hard, listen, I teach at the university level, as you know, so we've had midterms and the whole 9 yards, but I love the book. It's a very good book.
I like that the excuse is now used a different way around. Usually you have to look for the excuse.
Well, I've
for
got my
your
little
professor,
notes here.
right?
We're going to talk about something in a minute here.
Yeah.
But so I do want to though talk about the author of the book does speak of, and again I'm just going to throw this out there. He speaks of these shaman. Am I saying it correctly?
Shaman.
Shaman leaders that. He kind of questions because they are so in tune with nature and animals and that they themselves may be in on the spectrum.
Yeah.
He does go there, and,
Yes, he does.
that after reading a good portion of the book, I think that was a very interesting observation.
Yes.
Now he is not the only one. Temple Grandin also says that a lot of people who are on the autistic spectrum.
Yes.
Also have a very strong communication with animals.
Correct.
Now, she also points out that because of the pattern, the thinking, the cognition is in patterns.
Yeah.
Yes, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
So, but the club, what do you want to do with this club? And it's a very active club. It's out there on social media. You've got a lot of followers. So how has it been so far? What do you want to? Where's it going to go with Queens College, and how do you want it to develop?
Good question. So within the past 3 years, since we invited Rupert in 2014 to speak, we stayed in touch with him. And 2 years later, we organized the first trip to Elgin, Texas, which is about a 20-30 minute drive from Austin.
And how many were you?
And we were a group of 15.
15.
And the Committee for Disabled Students sponsored both trips, both times. And the second time, we were a lot more involved in setting everything up and picking out who's going. And we also had a lot more people who were applying for it. So after having over 60 applications for 5 or 6 spots, we realized there's a real interest here. And soon into our second trip, this January, we decided to, how can we bring this to Queens College? How can we have Queens College be more involved? Because we have quite a beautiful campus, and we have, a very unusual and thankfully unusual interest in working with disabled students. We were the first Committee for Disabled Students in the CUNY program. So we've had a long history, and we would like to bring this to a CUNY level and spread the word on this, because I think it's for a good cause.
Mm-hmm. No, it is for a very good cause. Yeah. Yes. So now everybody's involved with the club, right? You're all. Do you all have leadership positions, or do you all are just members? How is your affiliations, Sara and Wesley?
I am the vice president of the Horseboy Club.
Okay.
I don't have an official position, but I kind of asked them, is there anything I can do to help out with the club? And I've gone to the workshops and given them feedback on what they could do possibly better with as far as the workshops and everything.
Yeah. So if I may comment on that, we actually try to call ourselves a tribe. So we take that aspect of the shamans and the tribe tradition, because everybody in every part of a tribe is important, and every individual member makes the entire group work. It's not a real hierarchy there. It's more of an organic community that we try to create and help each other and learn from each other. Mm-hmm. Because you can learn something from everybody, you know.
Any final comments on this club and what you're doing at Queens College?
Sure, absolutely. If I may.
Yes.
I would like to say to the Queens College students and to the CUNY students out there that might think that the college experience is a little bit boring, or that they can't find a way to get engaged. I think that what we offer as a college community and as Committee for Disabled Students run club and subcommittee of the Committee for Disabled Students, we offer a club that offers mindfulness, which is very important in this day and age, especially for neurodiversity, because as of today, 1 in 68 children are diagnosed with autism. And everybody knows somebody with anxiety, ADD, ADHD, who suffers from depression. So these are all neurological disorders that we can help by moving and by learning and by being outside in a sensory-friendly, stress-free environment.
You know, as Nico just indicated, we can all learn from other people. And that really is what this show is all about. Professor James Mulvaney wrote this amazing article, "My Son Has a Rare Form of Autism, Learning to Surf Helped Save Him." He delivers a very strong, very positive message. So please enjoy this interview. And I think that anybody out there watching this, especially those parents who do have children that may be autistic, really will appreciate what we're going to talk about today.
Good.
Okay. Now, your son, you have two children.
Two children.
Okay.
Dan is the one with autism, and then Jack is a special ed teacher,
Wow.
of all things.
Wonderful. And now the special ed teacher is a few years younger.
Yes, he's 27.
Okay.
He, surprisingly, growing up with a older, bigger brother who had autism and used to beat him up, had always said, "I'm done with autism once I graduate from college." And we thought he was going to law school, and next thing you know, he won a New York City teaching fellowship, and now he's teaching 6 people like his brother in Harlem.
Well, congratulations. He's doing a lot with his life.
Yes, he is.
And I'm sure
We're very proud, yes.
Yes. Now, Danny, now you say that Danny was very traditional,
Danny seemed to be a normal child. Of course, I was his father, so I thought he was especially brilliant, but he was just a regular kid. And I was a foreign correspondent then. He was born in Mexico City, and then we moved to Hong Kong. And so he spoke Spanish, he spoke English, obviously. He spoke Tagalog, Filipino, because we had a Filipino nanny, and he spoke some Chinese. And about 3.5, we noticed he started to the world kind of folded in on him, and he became less gregarious and shyer, and over the course of 6 months, he eventually stopped speaking and hasn't spoken since.
Okay.
Now, he still has strong language. I mean, he has no expressive language, but he has very good receptive language. So if I ask him to do something in English, Spanish, or Tagalog, go upstairs and get your shoes, the response is exactly the same.
Right. Okay.
I mean, he tracks in all languages.
Now, when this happened, and then what happens when you notice this? Does it take a while for you to...
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, so we had just moved back from Asia to the United States to New York, and at first we thought, was it psychological? Was it something to do with the move? Had something happened? Had he gone deaf? Because he was not being responsive anymore. So we went through the whole scale of different places. We went to special hearing tests, we went to psychologists, et cetera, and finally we got to Yale University, and at Yale they said he has childhood disintegrative disorder, which they also called Heller syndrome, which is a very rare and powerful form of autism, from which they said there was no recovery, and get ready to put him in an institution. He was then almost 5, and
at 5 years old,
they said, you know, by 8 he will be institutionalized.
But then what happened?
I explained to the doctor that he was lucky. It was his lucky day that he was actually going to walk out. And if he spoke to me that way again about my child, perhaps next time the outcome wouldn't be so good for him.
Okay.
And then we went to Albert Einstein. And Isabel Rappin, who was a world famous neurologist, came to the same conclusion, but she didn't say institutionalize him. She said, why don't you teach him how to ice skate?
Yes.
And I mean, she had done our family history. I played college hockey, and said, there's no reason he can't ice skate. He doesn't have any physical disabilities. So sure enough, we taught him how to ice skate. And to this day, he still will play hockey this Sunday.
Okay. Well, it wasn't just ice skating.
No.
There was a list of things that you speak about in this article.
Yes. So it started with ice skating. We live in Long Beach, where they have a big ice skating rink, but it's the beach. So there are 2 things. Every little kid in Long Beach wants to be a surfer or a hockey player. The ice hockey team scores more points per game than the football team does, because that's the way the town is. The Rangers used to practice there. So obviously he was in the water, and he was in the water all the time. He loved being in the ocean, and from March till November. And in 2002, a friend of ours from California, who also has an autistic son, who's a little younger than Danny, said he was passing through, and he had taught, his son had learned how to surf, and he said, why don't we get Danny and a couple other kids. So we got 5 kids, and we went surfing. And one of the people who was there that day, Harvey Wiesenberg, an assemblyman, our assemblyman, who's also a lifeguard, perhaps the oldest lifeguard on Long Island. He's 83, he's still a certified lifeguard. He came and watched this, and he's a big supporter of the disabled community, probably the leading supporter in Albany. So he said, this is the greatest thing in the world. We're doing this every year. So that was in September, so the next year we did it more and more. And within 3 years, we had it, our surf program is an integral part of the special ed summer school curriculum. Every special ed student in Long Beach goes surfing twice a week in the summer.
And
that's part of their curriculum.
And is this Surf for All?
Surf for All, yes.
Okay.
So Surf for All is the group, and then we went to the school district and said, look at Danny surf. You should all be surfing. And at first, of course, they were skeptical. And I still remember the head of special ed coming down the first day saying, you're not putting my Danny in the ocean. It's too scary. And I said, first of all, he's my Danny, and secondly, he'll be okay. He swims. And 20 minutes later, she was agog, saying, this is the greatest thing in the world. And so now, all these kids go surfing.
But now it's not just for kids with autism. You've opened it up to... Okay,
so after
I love this story.
After a couple of years of doing just autism, one of my partners, Cliff Scudden, who is a third-generation surf instructor. His family runs surf schools. He was so excited by this that he went and got his master's degree in adaptive PE. So it's a special ed gym teacher. And because of this, his other students, he came to me one day and said, why are we only doing autism? And I said, well, fortunately, that's the only disease we have or condition we have in my family, but I'll do other things. Right. And I said, okay, well, tomorrow we're going to do blind people. And I said, no, we're not. We're not putting blind people in the ocean with Surf for All stuff on, because I don't want to go to jail. But he's a professional surfer, and he's a bigger guy than I am, and he said, we're doing it. And we did, and they were great.
Surf for All became successful and now open to many groups who are disabled, not just the autistic community. Professor Mulvaney is a firm believer in activity, and he understands the positive aspects of all children being active. And as we will see in the second part of his interview, there is also advantages to belonging to a team. Very important. The concept of being active is very important.
Yes.
Yes. What advice do you have for parents?
There's two concepts I think that are very important. One is presumption of competence. Assume somebody can do something. Don't think about what they can't do. Talk about what they may be able to do. So as I was explaining to the surf instructor that day, I said, Dan, we don't know why, but he quit surfing. And the surf instructor looked at me, one of those hand signs, and he says, no, dude, you got it wrong. He didn't quit. He grew disinterested. He's not disinterested anymore, so let's go surfing. Like, yeah, you're right. I mean, how dare I presume that I knew why he stopped?
That's a good point.
The other is the dignity of risk. Oftentimes, the parents of disabled people coddle them too much, and we don't give them the dignity of risk. There is a great dignity in trying things. How did you learn how to ride a bicycle? By falling off. How did you learn to run? How did you learn to swim? A number of things. Based on the presumption of competence, your parents let you go into a lake or a pool because they presumed you could learn how to swim. Just because someone can't speak doesn't mean they can't learn how to swim. So in Danny's case, we tried lots of things, and he took to surfing, took to ice skating, and he's now playing hockey. I do like the idea of teams. They like the idea of teams. Danny certainly loves the idea of teams. His brother was a college hockey player, as I was, and so he spent a lot of time watching his brother play and be applauded. And when he started playing hockey, he was so happy to have a uniform and to be part of a group. In Surf for All, they wear rash guards, these blue Lycra things, so that you don't get a rash from the board. And it's like a uniform. And we all like to belong.
Yes,
we
absolutely.
Sometimes we want to be different, but generally we like to belong.
Very good point. Very good point. James, I cannot thank you enough for being on the show.
Thank you for having me,
you.
and we appreciate being able to get the word out to other parents in our position. He was at the beginning of the autism epidemic, and I didn't have someone telling me, other than the doctor. And thank God for her that she said, get him out, get him to do something,
Yes.
teach him to skate.
Well, the message is powerful, it is meaningful, and it's very sincere.
Yes.
So I can't thank you enough for coming here.
Well, thank you for having me.
I enjoyed the article, and we have this for you and your family.
Oh, great,
your wife
thanks.
was wonderful. It was your wife who I spoke to begin with.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So please share it with her.
I will.
And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of our guests. You all have so much to give, and I'm very proud you were all on the show. As always, I'm glad you were all with us too, watching. Please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and by all means, keep watching the show. I am Dr. Truett Wagner, and once again, we have arrived at the end. However, we hope you all have learned a lot. Take care.